We are so fortunate to be joined now by Congressman Troy Carter, who is an annual legislative conference co-chair. He is representing New Orleans, and we also are being joined by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, who is a CBC Foundation board member. And we also see present the extraordinarily brilliant and beautiful Summer Lee, Congresswoman Summer Lee. We might as well get y'all all up because y'all gonna have to go line up to march across that stage in just a moment. So
I love how Congresswoman Beatty, she didn't walk, she floated. She
did float in.
She elegantly floated and took a seat.
I want to shout out my friends Quentin and Stephanie Brown, who are here also. We're gonna get them on. We got joined by all the members, y'all, because they gotta go line up. Hi,
look
ladies.
beautiful, beautiful, and handsome, So happy to have you guys here.
So from vision to victory, we are the last day of the conference. How do you think we've done? Are we closer to the victory? And this is a nonpartisan question, to be very clear.
We're absolutely closer to the victory.
Get closer to the mic.
Closer to the victory. We're
Yeah.
absolutely closer to the victory. When you look at the excitement, the energy, the commitment, people see the opportunity to save our democracy. And I think while this has been a great opportunity to come together, party with a purpose. While we're having a good time, we're also talking about significant policy. We're talking about making sure that the antidote to Trump 2025 is November 5th, 2024. Vote.
I want to come to you, Ms. Beatty, and I also want to defer to my colleagues, but I wanted to start here because I heard someone say to me the other day, they were like, there's a member of Congress, she's got this short pixie cut, and she is sharp, and she gave us our marching orders at Black Women's Agenda, so I know you can tear the house down. So what you got for us? I know you got something to say. And by the way, we would not be here at this conference without the advocacy, the fierce advocacy of Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and she does it for the people every single day, so thank you.
No, thank you all for doing this, and I certainly agree with Congressman Troy Carter. And let me just say, we are closer because we have a platform. We are closer because we have a candidate, fact, not partisan. When you think about we're here for CBC FALC, we took 50% of little black babies out of poverty. We put $35 cap on insulin for our seniors and others. We put $65 billion into HBCUs, and I'm a HBCU graduate. And if that's not good enough, let's talk about loan forgiveness. $167 billion for some 64 million people. So we have a platform, economy is better, 15 million jobs. Inflation now, if you look at the plan of the two different visions, I certainly want to be on the sisters' vision.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, KKK, you know what we usually think about when we hear that? Well, I'm going to give it a DEI name. On King's Day, Ketanji Jackson Brown's going to swear in Kamala Harris.
I love that.
Now that's my KK.
Not reclaiming the KKK.
Reclaiming the KKK.
That's a drop the mic moment.
Claim some stuff.
I'm in because I got a black job.
Right. I got a black
doing
job.
my black job. 2025, as Troy said, is bad. It dismantles everything that we believe in our values. So I'm going to call it 2024 vote.
That's it.
We just need everybody to vote. But let's not get overexcited. Let's not think the job is done because we are a long way from it until we get to Election Day. So I just want everybody to take the energy and double it for the next 50-some days, and then I'll be really happy to say victory.
I love that. Congresswoman Lee, thank you so much for joining us. I love the marching orders we just got from Congresswoman Beatty. Joteka Edie, who I'm sure you guys know, her wonderful
One of my dearest friends.
Yes, we love Joteka and her work around Win with Black Women. She addressed the conference this week, and one point that she made, here in D.C., inauguration weekend, there is no accommodation. Hotels are sold out. That is how confident people are about this election. And so I hear your caution. Joteka's marching orders were, if you have a hotel room booked here, but you ain't registered nobody to vote,
There you go.
then you ain't been doing your job. So, Congresswoman Lee, I'm curious what you would say to people out there who are rightfully celebratory of this moment after what we've been through as a people and as a country. What are your marching orders to our audience watching right now?
Yeah, so listen, I'm in Pennsylvania, so I always take excitement. I take joy that I see, especially in these places, right? Because when we gather, we bring this sort of energy. But when we go home, we forget sometimes that we're going back to people who aren't in these circles, right? They're not getting dressed up tonight. They haven't been able to hear all the inspiration from these panels. They haven't absorbed all the Black excellence that we've been absorbing. So we got to go back to states just like mine, to Western Pennsylvania. And we actually have to talk to people who are not as tuned in as we are. And that's not as easy, right? And it's not. And it's okay to admit that. When we talk about what Joyce Beatty said, that we have a plan, we have to take it. That's our responsibility. We have to go on doors and we have to let folks know what's at stake and what we can do to address that. We have to let people know that hope isn't something that is just a word, but we have a belief in each other and ourselves. And when we step up for ourselves, we can get those things done. But, you know, that is translating all of this into some actual action.
Yeah.
We always get folks who say they want to, you know, they'll go to the rallies, and I love rallies, y'all. I do. There's a lot of energy at these rallies, but the reality is that the people who we need are not the rally. We need to go and get Black folks on college campuses.
Right.
We got to go and get young folks who are reasonably concerned about a lot of stuff. We need to take that concern and we need to help connect them into the system. We need to plug them in, and we got to be patient with them. So I'm seeing this, and I think that this is a really good foundation. But we know in these 50-something days, we got work to do still.
Yeah, I think that's so. It's kind of like an analogy for the kids who show up to the guidance counselor's office because they want to go to college. Those are not the kids who are in the most need. It's the kids who are not participating. So I love that you made that point. I think that's so poignant.
I don't want to be a Donald Downer, but I do want to say a lot of people elect people to public office and then they start to criticize those individuals, basically saying, well, they didn't get done what it is that they said they would do. I often try to remind folks, look, we came here under ball and chain, had to endure 400 years of servitude before even being legal, then having that taken away. Before then, we're still seeing laws that are passed that bring us into our full existence. What does Kamala Harris, in addition to folks going out and voting and organizing for her, what companionship does she need in order to facilitate the movement of an agenda that makes life different for people in the streets?
She needs an Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House. We need to have a full complement of Democratic senators in the majority in the U.S. Senate. We need a patient community, a faith-based community, an academia, nonprofit, and business to recognize that the alternative is no democracy. The alternative is a reversal of people's rights. The alternative is a total ignoring of the Constitution and the rights that we have. We cannot go backwards. And so when you think about where we are, we have a vice president who was a district attorney, an attorney general, a United States senator, and now the vice president, soon to be president of the United States, the most consequential candidate to have ever served as vice president, and no one has had as much experience as she does bringing to the Oval Office. It's ridiculous that people would suggest otherwise. Everyone should stand and defend and just call balls and strikes. The facts bear out. Kamala Harris clearly has the requisite skill sets, temperament, and abilities. What we have to do as a people, as Jesse Jackson said in 1988, you can't hope me in, you have to vote me in. So we've got to remind people that for the next 51, 52, 53 days, we got to hump. We got to, just as Summer Lee just said, we can't depend on the circles that we're in. We're the choir preaching to the choir. We've got to go out into the communities, into the barbershops, the beauty shops, into the nightclubs, into sororities and fraternities. And we've got to tell people, yes, your vote does matter. And we can't afford to think we got this thing won so we can celebrate. No, it's going to be close. And in order to make sure that we can defend what will happen on Election Day, we have to make sure it is a solid victory.
You know, I want to flag for you all. Of course, the Congressional Black Caucus is known as the conscience of the Congress. And with the three of you all sitting here, you all have divergent politics. Your politics aren't all the way aligned. And what I love about this is people get to see themselves reflected in each of you. And as the caucus continues to grow, we see from how you vote, from the way you negotiate, from what you say in committee, the differences. There was one moment yesterday that I wanted to mention at the top of the show, and I forgot until now. But this conference is always a convening for people of divergent opinions and perspectives to share in forums. People get up and ask questions, sometimes want to debate with y'all. But there was this really harrowing moment last night. I was walking out of the Salamander, and there was a protest. And the protest was for Justin Johnson, who was killed at a McDonald's in D.C., shot 10 times. And I was so troubled that it was at a black hotel for our black members. And of course, I was walking with Papa Rai. And my dad looks at me and he says, this is where they knew they could be heard. And so I know that Justin Johnson and so many others, Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, have been at the top of you all's minds, and you've legislated for them. But I just want to say thank you for facilitating this space for the protesters, for Justin Johnson, for the protesters against the Israel-Hamas war, for the protesters to ensure that Black lives matter. So for facilitating this space, I just want to say thank you, and I want to honor you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
We love you guys.
We realize that, now I'll say this, and I think we'd all agree, we realize our diversity. Sometimes people think when you say Congressional Black Caucus that we're all alike, and we are not, and that's what we value and appreciate, because that is our strength. But what's even better, when you put it all together, that's the power of it.
It is.
Yeah.
We can make anything happen, as we did with the infrastructure bill,
Yes.
or we can stop anything from happening, as we did that we got both parts that we wanted. We wanted to make sure that the services were going to be voted on and signed, and so we did it all because of our unity and our power.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And if I could add to that, just even with what Brother Carter was just talking about, when we think about what we are really needing to do right now, it is, how do we invest in the coalitions of the future?
Yeah.
To see me, I'm a black girl from the Mon Valley, outside of Pittsburgh, right? I'm a progressive, and a lot of people for a long time, were told that you couldn't be black and progressive. And I actually don't always agree that we differ in so many ways. I think that sometimes our politics difference and our policies, our goals are similar. We're trying to figure out what is the best way to get there, recognizing that we're working through systems where there are no clear answers.
Yeah.
So when we talk about how do we invite in these folks who have been disenfranchised, who maybe or feel a little disaffected, how do we make room for them? How do we welcome them? And when they see me in a place like that, they see that that's possible. They see that, even if I don't come, speaking the same language, I don't come with the same background, I don't come from the same socioeconomic status, that my blackness still qualifies me to be in Congress. That my perspective, my experiences qualifies me to have an opinion, and that opinion deserves to be represented in every hall of power. That's what this is about. And right now, when we think about what we need to do in these next 40-something days, we need to figure out, how do we remind and keep our Democratic coalition together? How do we remind people that even the Democratic coalitions of the past aren't going to be sufficient? Right now, what we know, what Republicans know, and what we need to know is that coalition of black folks, of brown folks, of young folks, of progressives, of moderates, of people who are urban and rural and suburban coming together right now is what's going to keep us afloat, to keep democracy alive. So we need to pull that together.
You need to go back and tell them, when they say you can't be progressive and Democrat, that they don't know our history. If you don't think Shirley Chisholm was progressive, if you don't think John Lewis was progressive, if you don't think Charlie Rangel was
ahead of the time,
and all of them, if you don't think Maxine Waters and Jim Clyburn not progressive, so we have to make sure we keep our history. They do that to try to pit us against us. When a younger generation comes in and says progressive and Black Lives Matter, well, see, I'm from the generation before. We was raising our fists and saying Black Power with Jesse Jackson in the 80s. So I just want to leave it on that
now, and that's what I want folks to know.
There you go.
Said I have receipts, and on top of receipts, y'all also have time. We have the chairwoman, Terry Sewell of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, who's here, and Nicole Austin Hillary, who is the president, who are going to join us. And I know y'all got to get ready to go meet your president.
Thank you for letting me be unapologetically black.
Thank you for being unapologetically black. Thank you both.
Congressman Carter, Congresswoman Beatty, Congresswoman Summer Lee, we are so grateful for your participation today. Thank you.
See you soon. I'm so excited to be
I'm going to lose
joined.
my friend card with Steph and Quentin. They've been
I
standing
know.
here just
We
being
love you,
supportive.
Steph, and we want you guys to stay tuned because Stephanie and Quentin
Steph
play
and
such
Quentin
an
are doing
important
some
role
amazing work with
when
Collective
it comes
Act.
to politics.